Hello, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, and it's time to create yourself and build the life you'll love. This is a companion series to our Basics series, and the Basics gives you the basics of the nuts and bolts of what was going on in the New Testament, and the Create Yourself series will give you the nuts and bolts of actually applying the lessons, the technologies of the best of all the ways, the truths that lead to life as provided to us by the Christ. Now, all these things I talk about, I'm working with people individually. If you'd like to work with me individually, contact me through the box below. And without any further ado, I got to put on the glasses, bring out the heavy guns, because we got a lot to talk about, lots of good information. So let's begin and let's talk about it. The first thing we have to understand before we begin to create ourselves and build the life we love is we have to realize we've got to do something. We can't just allow ourselves to drift along anymore. Well, we can, but we won't have any change in our lives. So we've got to stop living and going along and begin to create ourselves with intention and with purpose. And the first thing that we have to understand as we create ourselves is we have to understand that we really have two minds. We have a analytical mind and a reactive mind. And until you realize this and understand this, you won't be able to be effective in your life or in your spirituality. The perfect analogy is the serpent and the dove as talked about by the Christ in Matthew chapter, I wrote it down wrong, so I want to make sure we go to the right one. It's in Matthew chapter 10, verse number 17. And if we look at that, it's actually verse number 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Sounds kind of like a throwaway scripture. What does it really mean? It's just one of those Bible things. It's just blah, blah, blah. But when you begin to create yourself, you begin to see that there's things that are tremendous that are lying just beneath the surface. And when the Christ said, be wise as a serpent and be harmless as a dove, he was talking about a lot of things. I have a book, Serpents and Doves in the Garden of the Gods. It was just featured on Coast to Coast. We talked about that with George and a couple million of our best friends. And I mean, it's $1.99 now, or you can buy the paperback as well. But very, very interesting stuff. And this, we're not going to go into all the depth of it, but part of it is talking about your two minds. And they're really two minds that when it's working right, they are one mind, but the problem is that we get things separated and we get things off. And let's look at verse 17 so we can understand exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the best nature of our reptilian part and the best nature of our dove part. And if you've done any reading or understanding of this stuff, you know that we are a reptilian human hybrid, and we're a reptilian human hybrid, and we're called to have the best and live in the best of both our reptilian and our dove part. So that's the important thing to remember, is we've got to be in the best of both of our parts of who we are. So let's go ahead and look at Matthew 10:16. And I send you forth as sheep amongst wolves. We'll look at that in a minute. Therefore, I want you to be shrewd as the serpent. What does shrewd mean? It means intelligent, prudent, wise, practical. It means to be wise and sensible and practical. And then to be as innocent as the dove. Innocent means pure, unsophisticated, but really it means unmixed and pure. And that is key. That is huge, and you're going to see why here as we progress on in our study here, as we learn to create ourselves. So, gentle as serpents, shrewd as serpents, gentle as doves. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about being unmixed. We're talking about, if we're talking about the dove, we're talking about being pure. We're talking about being unmixed. What does that mean, unmixed? Well, it means being pure. It means not having a mixture. And we're going to talk about exactly what that means. But just for now, no, that's what it means. Being unmixed and being pure. And then the serpent mind, we're talking about being practically wise. We're talking about being prudent. We're talking about being sensible. And the fact that we're sent out like sheep in the midst of wolves, the Christ is saying, look, you guys are wandering around like sheep in the midst of wolves. And what that means in the Greek is you're going around as grazers, eating whatever you're fed. And let's look at it. Let's look at it in verse 16 again, just to make sure that you know I'm not selling you a bill of goods. And I want you to see this, as I wanted to crack into your, I was going to say thick skull, but that's not what I mean. I send you out as sheep. And what's a sheep? It's one that's easily led. It's a grazer. It's anything that goes out and eats where it's put. Excuse me. That's what so many people are doing today. You're just eating whatever they give you. And, that has some reference to the terrible stuff we're putting in our bodies, but we're talking about spiritually. You just eat whatever they give you. Well, whatever the priest or the pastor, I just did. That's why you're where you are, and that's why we have problems, because we just eat whatever someone gives us. But the Christ is saying to us, look, it's time to get beyond that. If you want to create yourself, you can't just be going around grazing on what other people give you. You can't just go on eating whatever is handed up to you in the spiritual realm, because you're trained, pushed, prodded, and indoctrinated to be a grazer of whatever you're fed spiritually. Because that's your proclivity after 2,000 to 10,000 years of indoctrination in this system, you have to, of a volition, create yourself. And as to create yourself, you must be wise as a serpent. You must be practical. You must be prudent. You must be sensible. And you must be harmless as a dove. In other words, pure and unmixed. So you're in a place where you're going out and are taught to go out and are encouraged to go out and eat whatever is offered to you by the spiritual powers that be. But it's time to rise above that and use your serpent and your dove brain. Because you can see the Christ here is saying, be wise as serpents. Be harmless as doves. He's telling this to his apostles. So what in the world is he talking about exactly? Well, let's look at James chapter 1 and verse number 8. It says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And double-minded means to be mixed. If you're mixed, if you're not sure, look at this in James 1:8 in the original Greek. Double-minded means double-minded, wavering, two-souled, properly, double-minded, vacillating, a spiritual schizophrenic, split in half, mixed. You're of double mind, you're mixed. What are you mixed with? You're mixed with the mind that God gave you, the divine gave you, and the grazing mind, eating what is offered up to you. And you have to stop doing that. And how do you do that? You rely on the mind. You rely on the faculties that God gave you. And what are they? It is to be in your analytical mind. What is your analytical mind? Well, basically, your analytical mind is your blink mind. And if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know what I'm talking about with the blink, but let me just go over it again briefly. The blink is, let's first talk about what the analytical mind is. The analytical mind is that part of your mind that is completely and totally operating ever since you had your first ability to receive stimuli from the environment. Whether that was this life, in the womb, past lives, whatever. The analytical mind has a record of every bit of stimulus and input that you have ever received, and it is kept and categorized within your analytical mind. The analytical mind is a recorder, a receiver and a recorder, literally. And let's just keep it to this life. Well, let's not even keep it to this life. But every input from your past lives, every input from being in the womb before this life, every input up till right now is recorded in your analytical mind. It's a perfect recording. It is without exception. It is without exemption. It is a complete and total record of every bit of sensual stimuli that you have received over your entire existence. And it's recorded there, and it can be accessed by you if you know how to do it and are willing to put in the work to learn how to do it. So in our perfect high mind and within our serpent and dove brains, and there is a third part of the brain that we'll talk about, but in our serpent and dove brains, there's a high part of those and a low part of those. The high part of our serpent and dove brains and the low part of our serpent and dove brains. And let's just take a quick look at this so we can show you what I'm talking about here. And this is the book. This is Serpents and Doves that we're into now. So we want you to understand exactly what we're talking about. A successful species on Earth would be of, and this is the dove part, be of pure mind, pure in spirit, selfless and trustworthy, and never provoking enmity in other beings. That's your dove mind, your high dove mind. Pure of heart, unmixed, like James said. Pure of mind, unmixed, so you're not wavering between two things. And pure of spirit. You're unwavering both in heart, mind, and spirit. It reminds you of loving the divine with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. You're also totally selfless and trustworthy. You're loving your neighbor as you love yourself. And the Christ said those are the two most important factors of all his teachings. And you never provoke enmity in other beings. Why? Because you are being excellent to each other by loving other beings as you love yourself. Now that's the high dove mind that the Christ encouraged us to have. Now there's also a high reptile mind, and that is the ability to stay laser focused on the task at hand, to stay balanced in your thought and in your mind, to be smart, to be shrewd, to be sober, and to never unduly expose yourself to attack. That is the best of both the human or the dove and the reptile or the serpent forms. That is our very best. Now, that's the high mind. Our high mind. Now, there's also a low mind. On the low mind, we would have the low part of the dove, which would be being secretive, being manipulative, being duplicitous, creating enmity and bad feelings and other intelligent forms that would provoke them to attack us. Now, that also means that we would be timid, lack physical strength, lack mental toughness to ward off such attacks when they did come. This is low dove mindset. Secretive, manipulative, duplicitous, creating enmity or looking like a really good victim. This is kind of like the sheep mentality out there amongst the wolves. Timid, not having strength and toughness to ward off attacks. Now, low reptilian thinking is unthinking and instinctual, just reacting in manifestation of instinctual behaviors like overaggression, dominance, territoriality, ritual displays, throwing fits. So this is why the Christ painted a clear picture of why we need the best of the reptilian and the best of the human to be ideal for success in this earth. He also shows us why when we are in the low aspects of either or both, we're not a efficient and successful type of being for this earth. But when we are in the high reptilian, high human, high serpent, high dove, we are optimal for life on earth. So he encourages us to embrace the best of our Elohuman, if you will, nature. That serpent and dove nature. That's what we really want to be embracing. Now, I know it's a lot of information, so we'll keep this short, but we need to be in our high analytical mind. Be in high dove, be in high serpent, be in our high analytical mind. And when we are in high analytical mind, we can trust our blink. What is our blink? Our blink is when it takes all of that information from every bit of input and stimuli that we've ever received and automatically in each and every situation applies all that data and spits out, boom, an answer to you right away. I call that your blink. You know it and you act on it without reservation, without stopping to think and to say, oh, well, maybe. No. You hear it. Your analytical mind crunches the data, gives you the answer, and you act. Bam. And you can always trust it every single time if you are acting and living in high mind of both high dove and high serpent. But the problem is, and this isn't to be accusatory, this is to be to identify an opportunity to you so you can get to where you need to be. Almost every single one of you is not operating consistently and efficiently in high mind, in high dove, or in high serpent. That's why you can't trust your blink, because your blink is broke. And it's broke because it's getting bad data from your analytical mind. And that's why things aren't working out as smoothly as you want them to. And that's why we're doing Create Yourself, so you can learn to fix your blink and be able to rely on it without exception. Now, here's the deal. When you're in high dove and in high serpent, you can trust and act on the analytical mind and its analysis and its report. You can act and trust your blink. Bam. Now, the problem is that most of us don't live in our analytical mind. We live in our reactive mind. What is the reactive mind? Well, the reactive mind is low serpent and low dove, or more better stated, not high serpent, not high dove. It's anything less than optimal high serpent and high dove. And again, anything less than high serpent is territorial. It's based on dominance. It's based on aggression, ritualistic displays and actions. In other words, living like you have to live in this 21st century in order to get ahead. Anything less than high dove is where you are not pure of heart, you're not pure of mind, you're not pure of spirit, you're mixed. You are selfish, you're not trustworthy, and you look like a victim, you act like a victim, you smell like a victim, so you do provoke attack from other beings. Now, when you honestly look at your life and look at where you are living in and how you are acting, where are you really? Can you say that you are, without a doubt, unmixed in heart, mind, and spirit? Can you say you're totally selfless and trustworthy? Can you say you never provoke enmity? Can you say you're able 100% to stay focused on the task at hand, to stay balanced in thought and mind, 100% smart, shrewd, sober, 100% never expose yourself to attack? Are you able to say that you're 100% on all of those things? No, you're probably not. And that's because your reactive mind is in control more than your analytical mind, and that's why you can't trust your blink. That's why, well, Jeff, I trust my blink, but my blink is wrong. Well, it's wrong because it's getting bad data. It's getting bad data because your analytical mind is being screened. You're not getting all of the true, accurate data, and that comes from being in low serpent, low dove. But what is that really? Well, that's our third part of our mind, and it's called, really, we'll save that for next time. We're going to show you next time what moves us from high mind to low mind, and what it is. It's aberration based upon trauma. It's latent false memories which are in our memory banks that interfere and supersede the true memories. So you do have a perfect memory, a perfect life track that you can access. But because of these attachments, because of these blocks that you have things that are not allowing you to access your perfect high mind life track record, your perfect analytical mind. You're not getting to analytical mind. You're only getting to reactive mind, which is being driven by this bad data. The good news is you have the perfect life track in your mind, in your spirit, wherever you however you want to look at it. The good news is it's there. The bad news is that it's being blocked, aberrated, overrun, and debated with. But the best news is you can identify those things that are not of your perfect high mind life track, and we can remove them so they no longer become or serve as problems for you. And you can always have access to your analytical mind, that perfect life track that you have, and you can 100% trust your blink, and you can act with 100% clarity and accuracy day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute, second to second. That's creating yourself. Creating yourself is removing all of the blocks and hindrances to you living in your perfect high mind and having an experience of doing exactly the right thing for you each and every single time. Isn't that what you want? Well, that's what learning this Create Yourself and applying this Create Yourself will enable you to do. And just like the past life regressions I'm doing one-on-one, we're also doing Create Yourself one-on-one, and we can help you get started and get rolling, and then you can take the reins and do it yourself. Now, most people do like to check in every couple months or so and have a good run on the life track by, with another person, just to make sure they stay on track. But this is about knowing you have a perfect life track that's kept perfect record of everything that's ever happened to you, knowing that when it is not blocked or aberrated, it will give you exactly the right thing that you should do each and every time based on those years and years and years of data. Know that it's not working right now, but it's very easy for us to be able to get rid of all of the hindrances and the aberrations and make it work for you. We can literally get you to the place where you are doing exactly the right thing for you in each and every second, situation, decision of your entire life. That's creating yourself. That's creating a life that you will love. And we can do it. And you can do it. And that's what Create Yourself is all about. So this was Create Yourself Part 1. Next we'll go to Create Yourself Part 2 and talk about what it is that messes up our perfect life track and keeps us from getting complete and total unfettered access to the perfect information. We're going to find out what keeps messing us up and find out why we keep finding ourselves in situations where, man, here we go again. Well, we don't have to go there again. So I hope you'll be back for the next Create Yourself. If you'd like to talk to me, work with me, contact me in the box below. And we do have the books available for you. There's over 600 videos free on this site right now. Take advantage. We're here to help. We're here to help you unwind your mind. We're here to help you unindoctrinate yourself. We're here to help you guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, and be your own guru. Trying to get you to be excellent to yourself so that we can be excellent to each other.